and this week we are focusing on rebuilding just consistent reading habits. I'm not too much of a true crime girly because it really like scares me and freaks me out and makes me never want to leave my house again. It has been so long since I've cried over a book. I was like astonished. Good morning, bestie. I hope that you're having the most wonderful day of your entire stinking life. Welcome to another weekly reading vlog. My name is Tori if you're new. So happy that you're here. We are still kind of in a weird place with our reading. It's just been I'm submitting to my mood reading tendencies. I'm not fighting myself on it anymore. I've also let go of any like internalized judgment that I've been holding. Lately, I've been feeling a lot of pressure to read like a bunch of different books because I have a lot of books on my physical TBR that I'm like excited to get to. I have a lot of holds on Libby that I'm also very excited to get to, and I have some NetGalley arcs that I've been meaning to get to as well. For me, if I have too many options, I don't want to read any of them. I get very internally stressed, and so I'm working to let all of that go. And this week we are focusing on rebuilding just consistent reading habits. So my goal is to read at least 100 pages every day. Anything above 100 pages, perfect, but I have to read at least 100 pages every single day. So the book that we're starting with that I have been obsessed with, and it was such a random book, like came out of the blue. It wasn't like a book I was anticipating the release for or anything like that. I think I found this book when I was looking through Libby to place new holds. I go through these periods where I just scroll through Libby and I'm like, oh, that sounds good, place hold, place hold. This one popped up. I read the first 2 chapters and I had to order the physical book. I was obsessed with it. I did start this book in my last weekly reading vlog, but like I mentioned, I was only 2 chapters in. Now I am on chapter 6, 74 pages, and we are going to finish this book this week. If you like whimsy, if you like Alex Harrow's books, like The Once and Future Witches, if you liked Half a Soul by Olivia Atwater, if you liked The 10,000 Doors of January, this will be right up your alley. It is so whimsical. It takes place on this magical island off the coast of Ireland. This island is hidden and protected by magic, and we follow our main character. Her name is Biddy. She washed up on this island when she was just a baby, and the mage and his rabbit familiar who live on this island found her and have been taking care of her ever since. Our mage's name is Rowan, and he is giving all of the Howl's Moving Castle vibes. He turns into a raven or like a black bird, and he flies off of the island every night, but he's been coming home in the mornings later and later with injuries. And so Biddy is like, bestie, are you okay? Like, what's going on? Should I be worried? And he's like, no need to worry. One night, doesn't come home. It is the morning, the dawn is coming up, the sun is rising, and she's like, where's Rowan? So she has to go and save Rowan, and then he fills her in on the hip happenings of the rest of the world, and spoiler alert, it's not great. So our main characters have to go on a little bit of a magical adventure. If that doesn't describe how whimsical this book is, I don't know what will. So far today, I have read 42 pages, so I need to read up to page 132 today to hit my goal. Lately for me, when I pick up my book and I start reading it, I'm like, oh my gosh, this is so fun. I love reading. And then when I put my book down, it's so hard for me to pick it back up. So I'm hoping that this week doing this reading challenge will really help with that. The other book that I have that I've only just started is called After Dark with Roxy Clark by Brooke Lauren Davis. This is a YA thriller. We follow our main character, Roxy Clark. She has seen and experienced a lot more death than your normal teenager. She's 17 years old, and her family is kind of considered the cursed Clark family. She has embraced it in kind of a weird way. She has a flair for the performance arts, and so she has crafted this ghost tour that talks about a lot of her ancestors and their tragic ends, including her own mother. But then I think her tour ends up discovering another dead body, like while they're on the tour, and this dead person turns out to be her sister's boyfriend. How traumatic is that? And Roxy takes it upon herself to find the murderer. Like, she wants to solve the crime. And so it's kind of a mix between a thriller and true crime. I'm not too much of a true crime girly because it really like scares me and freaks me out and makes me never want to leave my house again. But where this is like a YA thriller, I'm like, hopefully it doesn't get too deep dark in the deep darkness, you know what I mean? It's a little bit later. I think you would have seen I was like folding laundry, working a little bit, just kind of like getting things done, which was really nice. And I was listening to After Dark with Roxy Clark. I love that title. I'm 20% of the way through now. I'm really starting to enjoy it for a couple reasons. I had listened to the first couple chapters yesterday. I was like 4% of the way through the book and was unsure about which way I was going to go with it, of whether I would like it or not. I think the setup for this thriller was unique, and that's what really piqued my interest. I was a little worried at first because Roxy Clark is very stereotypical. So she has this cursed family. They're in this small town in Indiana, I want to say. So like everyone knows about her at school. She's the outcast. She's kind of like the goth girl. She's obsessed with death. She's very morbid, and she feels very comfortable talking about death because she unfortunately has seen so many dead bodies. She's very comfortable with death, which is obviously odd. But the thing that is really, the couple things that are really making me enjoy this book, and I'm very intrigued, are the relationships. Roxy and her sister Skylar became like best friends with these two little neighbor boys that were across the street when they were really young. One of the boys came over and like had a toad in his hand, and Skylar opened the door and he was like, "Look at this frog," and she goes, "That's a toad," and she like takes it from him and puts it in the garden. She's like, "Okay, bye," and slams the door. And ever since, they were like inseparable. They were like besties for a long time, and then they started dating, and they just had the cutest relationship ever. And so obviously after he dies and they see his body and he was very clearly murdered, like foul play, she's devastated. And I feel the way that Skylar is coping with the grief makes it very believable. It's not just like Skylar's like, "We have to find who did it, blah, blah, blah." She's like devastated. She like doesn't want to leave her room. She sleeps. She's not eating. She just doesn't want to be involved with the world anymore. And I feel like that's relatable. Like, not everyone is going to deal with grief and just be like, okay, time to like get back to daily life, time to like solve the murder of my boyfriend. Like, no. Roxy is the one who's like, I need to figure out what happened to give my sister some closure because this is devastating. Roxy is besties with Tristan, the other like neighbor boy brother. Tristan is a very intimidating person. He's like tall, very quiet, but he cares for her a lot, and they have a really cute relationship. All that to say, Roxy is not my favorite character, and usually when I don't love the main character, I have a really difficult time enjoying the rest of the book. But I think the other characters in the story, as long as they stay relatively like involved with the story, I think I am really gonna like it. Hi besties, happy Tuesday. It is the 4th and we are about to head down to the pool, but I wanted to do a quick check-in from yesterday. So I did read my 100 pages. I ended up reading my 100 pages in The Magician's Daughter. I'm now on page 136. And this is getting so juicy, but we're seeing like a different side to Rowan, and I'm like, no, what is going on? It's really captivating me though. So I'm excited to read another 100 pages of this today. Let me move my sticky mark. So we will be reading at least to page 236. So there's our new sticky note. We're gonna go down to the pool. I'm gonna bring this and read this. But yesterday I also read up to, or listened to 31% of After Dark with Roxy Clark. Also really enjoying where that story is going as well. I don't have any more like updated thoughts or feelings about that one so far because the story is definitely shifting into mystery mode, which we love, but nothing like super significant has happened in the plot from my last update, because I think I last updated you when I was at 20% in that book. Happy Wednesday. Quick update from yesterday. So I did end up reading my 100 pages of The Magician's Daughter, and I didn't really listen to After Dark with Roxy Clark yesterday, but I've been listening to it almost nonstop today since I woke up, and it's been really fun. I've had a very productive morning. I'll start with The Magician's Daughter. I was literally crying over that book last night. It has been so long since I've cried over a book. I was like astonished. Whenever the last time I reread Crescent City House of Earth and Blood was, which I think was like last January, so like last year, over a year ago, that was the last time I cried reading a book. The Magician's Daughter made me cry, which is crazy. I am not really like a book crier, but the overwhelming sense of hopelessness with where we are in the book right now really just made me feel some type of way. I'm so scared for the characters, and I love them all so much, and I love their dynamic between the three of them, between Biddy, Rowan, and Hutch. I just like, oh my gosh, my heart was literally breaking. Then this morning, like I mentioned, I've basically been listening to After Dark with Roxy Clark since I woke up. I started listening to it when I was getting ready for the day, then unloaded the dishwasher. Me and JMO went for a long walk, and he is very sleepy ever since we came back. I also finished folding some laundry. I journaled this morning. I did some manifestations, which I mean to be more consistent with, but I find that I've been journaling like twice a month. Not book journaling, but like my manifestation journal, and I would like to get more consistent with it, but this morning it just made me feel really good to do that. I only have about 45 minutes left in the audiobook, so I'm gonna finish it today. That also is just like making me feel really good because it's felt like forever since I've actually finished a book. And listening to this book has been so easy. It's also just making me really, really happy because lately reading has felt a little bit like a chore. I think I talked about Chima's little tail. I think I talked about that. You know, the reason why I'm trying to get back into good reading habits and read at least 100 pages every day is because lately, especially reading physically, it's just felt like let me get to my page goal so I can do something else, which sucks because I'm enjoying The Magician's Daughter like so much. It's probably gonna be a 5-star read for me. So I'm like, why am I feeling like this? I don't understand, but I'm trying to give myself some grace, and thankfully After Dark with Roxy Clark has not felt like a chore. Like, it's been so much fun to listen to. I'm loving the story. I love the pacing of the thriller, of like the really juicy parts and what's going on. And I think what's making me love this book so much is the dynamic between the characters, like between our two sisters when they've had conflict with each other. I love that their relationship isn't just, they're not afraid to question each other. Like, they're not just fully, they're close as sisters, but they're not just fully like supportive of what each other is doing. They question each other a lot, and that causes conflict between them, which makes it feel very realistic, because what they're doing in this book, trying to solve the murder of Skylar's boyfriend, there's obviously a lot of emotions in a situation like that. There was a portion of the book where it seemed like the foundation of the book, where Roxy has this like ghost tour that she hosts and the curse of the Clark family, it seemed like that was a little bit irrelevant. I like how Brooke Lauren Davis has kind of kept ties to that throughout the story. It feels a bit more relevant, and I'm really curious as to how it's gonna end. I'm literally, like I said, I'm 87% of the way through the book. I only have 45 minutes left, so we're getting to some big reveals, and I'm like, I can't wait to finish it and see what happens. I think that this is a sign that Summerween is coming at a perfect time for me, so I can kind of switch to more spooky books. It's about 45 minutes later, and I just finished After Dark with Roxy Clark, and I wrote my review on Goodreads for it. I ended up giving it 4 stars. It was less of a thriller mixed with true crime. Like, I can see that's valid. It's not like that's not a valid description, but in my mind, it's more of like a thriller mixed with a tragic love story. My favorite things about this book were the sibling dynamics, because we got like a sister-sister dynamic, and we also got a brother-brother dynamic, and then the romantic interests through the book I thought were really good. The ghost story element to it was much stronger at the beginning of the book, and then it it really faded throughout the remainder of the book. It was almost like the author had that included in the beginning for a characterization to really build up our Roxy Clark character. And I kept questioning, how is she still running this business that's supposed to be really popular? And during the timeline of the story, Halloween takes place, and she's like, usually this is like my most popular time of year, and yet she like wasn't really doing anything with her business. And I was like, that's a little bit questionable. I saw the twist at the end coming a little bit. It was one of my like assumptions of what happened, and it did come true. Even though I kind of guessed it, I still really enjoyed it, and I enjoyed the way that it played out. Next check-in will definitely be about my 100 pages of The Magician's Daughter. Hello, happy Thursday. I just finished The Magician's Daughter, and I have some mixed feelings about this. I really enjoyed the whimsical aspects of the book. I didn't love that so much of the book took place in basically what I was picturing as like a Ministry of Magic from Harry Potter. There was like this magical council society that like ruled over magic. As you got towards the middle and the end of the book, a lot of the scenes took place at this Ministry of Magic. I was literally picturing like the Harry Potter Ministry of Magic in my head because it's very similar. I didn't love that. I also didn't love that our two main characters had to rely so heavily on other people to achieve what they needed to achieve, because I think the author did a good job in this book making it so that there wasn't a clear, well, I guess there was a clear like good and bad side to things, but a lot of the characters were morally gray, right? Like they weren't perfect. They did some things that were selfish. They were very humanized characters, which is great. In a book like this where there is so much whimsy and magic and magical beings and familiars and all of these things, I wanted it to be a little bit more fantastical than what it turned out to be. I don't want the realism. I want the more like magical things. And to be fair, there's a lot of whimsy in this book. I loved the characters. I really did. I think that H.G. Perry hit the hopelessness and despair a little bit too hard. And that's not like the mood that I wanted from this. Like I liked that the stakes were actually fairly high, but the pacing of this book, it moved so slowly through some of the most intense scenes. I'm very like mixed about this book. It had me feeling some type of way though. I think I'm gonna give it 4 stars because like I enjoyed it. It wasn't perfect though. It wasn't perfect writing, and so that's why I'm like, do I give it a 3.5? Any book that has a father-daughter type relationship just hits me right in the feels because I'm very close with my dad, and so I'm like, it's so sweet. It's just so sweet. And there were some really sweet moments in this. So yeah, I think I'm gonna give it 4 stars. For a while I thought I was gonna give it 5, but there was just so many things that, like I explained, like I'm kind of conflicted about that I didn't love. So she's a solid 4 star. I did read 100 pages. I had just a little bit over 100 pages left in this book today. So I hit my 100 page goal for today. Hi besties, I'm outside walking Jamo right now, but I wanted to do a quick check-in because once I take him back inside, we are going to the hair salon today to get our hair done, which I'm very excited about. But last night I started reading Daisy Darker. I'm only like 60 pages into it and I'm not taking it super seriously. I think it's a really like funny thriller so far. It's very like heavy-handed and very like dramatic, but I don't think it's supposed to be taken seriously. That's been a good time. I'm gonna continue reading it when I'm getting my hair done. We're doing a whole like balayage updated moment, so I'm gonna be there for a little while. I'm trying to give myself time to run to Starbucks to get a quick like coffee and snack for the hair appointment because she gonna be long. We're back from hair. I did throw her up because I'm about to go to the pool, so don't mind the egghead moment. Went food shopping after the hair appointment, which I desperately needed to do. I want to go down to the pool because I was able to read like a little bit of my book during my hair appointment, but we were chatting, we were catching up. And so I want to read a little bit more of Daisy Darker. I have a love-hate relationship with thrillers, but right now, at least this week, we won't say right now, this week they've been hitting, and I was a little nervy about Daisy Darker because I know that it's a very popular thriller. It's giving Agatha Christie's and then they were done, like they all go to this very isolated island. We've had a death. We're starting to get some like riddles that are thrown in there, which I just think are so much fun, and I'm buddy reading this with my friend Sarah, and I'm hoping to get to 50%. Today's Friday, but it's also the first day of Summerween, so I'm going to use Daisy Darker as my thriller read, like for that prompt. I think my next check-in will be my final like reading update check-in. Hi besties, happy Saturday. I am here to close out this vlog. So I've read up to halfway in Daisy Darker and I'm really enjoying it. This is a book that I never would have picked out for myself, but I'm really glad that Sarah was like, no, it's funny to read Daisy Darker, and I was like, okay. And now I'm absolutely loving it. Every time I sit down to read that book, it feels like I can read so much in just one sitting because I devour it and I don't want to put it down, and I can't wait to know like what happens next. We'll see how it ends, because obviously thrillers, the endings of thrillers have a massive impact on like what my star rating of them is going to be, so we will see. I have to end this vlog here because I'm going to start my Summerween vlog, so I hope that you enjoyed. If you did, please be sure to give it a big thumbs up, subscribe to my channel. Leave in the comments down below if you're participating in Summerween or what your current like reading genre, reading mood is. Like, what is your summer reading mood? I'd love to know. I will catch you in the comments and I'll see you in my next one, friends. Bye!